Peace of the Lord be always with you. This is the Son of the Most Sorrowful YouTube channel. We're going to talk about becoming useful to the Lord, right? So it's important that once you choose to abandon your own life, once you choose to Matthew 16:25 your life, lose your life for His sake, so that you can find it, by His promises, by the Lord's promises, you will do this. Um, it's important that you make yourself useful to the Lord. First step is to remember, yes, the Lord is your Father and you are a child of God. Okay. But I think the important and forgotten aspect of that relationship is also that relationship of master and servant. You know what I mean? You are a servant of the Lord and He is your master. You do not own yourself. You are subject to Him. And if you're ready to live like that, this video is gonna give you some steps or some things you can do to please your master as a servant of the Lord. Okay. Uh, so becoming useful to God. Step one. Serve your neighbor. Right. Uh, so your neighbor is everybody in your immediate surrounding. Right. And you're the one that, because you were living in your life, and we all have different sets of neighbors. It'd be useful to pray to the Lord how you can be useful to them, to grant you the wisdom to be useful in service to them. Okay. Saint Teresa of Avila talks in her book, The Way of Perfection, about how becoming useful, how becoming a servant of your neighbor is actually something that will reap the greatest benefit to your soul. Like you will believe or feel at first like they're the ones reaping the benefit of your service to them, because that's the fleshly way of looking at it. But spiritually, you're storing your treasures in heaven by this practice, okay? So become a servant of your neighbor, okay? In order to get there, just start by doing acts of kindness, right? Say hello to your neighbor. If your neighbor doesn't want you to talk to them, maybe just I don't know, uh, pick up some trash from his lawn or something. I don't know. There's less intrusive ways of doing it. You could just pray for your neighbor. If your neighbor is the kind of person that doesn't want to be bothered, that likes their space, that doesn't want to be talked to, just pray for your neighbor. Okay, do a novena for your neighbor. Fast for your neighbor. Pray that the peace of the Lord be always with them. You don't have to wave high or anything. You know, you can even keep to yourself, right? At first, but and then down the line, if you're praying for your neighbor and the opportunity rises for you to have a conversation with your neighbor. You know, at church, be the kind of person that maybe you sit at the very beginning of the pew, sit all the way at the very bottom. You know what I mean, next to the wall. Um, Maybe you're in the bus. Be the kind of person that gives up your seat if the bus is full. I haven't seen a bus personally. Maybe, and I'm not on the bus a lot. I've been on the bus before, but because people get off so frequently, there usually are empty seats. But I mean, in the event that there is no empty seats, just give up your seat. Be courteous. Let the women go first. Um, type deal. Uh, think less about what reward you will get in the immediate moment and just make yourself useful. You know what I mean? You can just go for a walk, man. Go for a walk. Have a few bucks for you know for the homeless. I would advise not to give homeless money directly. I would say it's much more constructive to ask them what it is they need in the moment. Because homeless people throughout their life, throughout their day, they have different needs, they have different wants. And if you ask them what they want, that is actually like the best way to help them. In the moment, they might need water, they might not need water, they might need food, they might not need food. They might have other wants, that are not helpful or constructive to them. You know what I mean? Maybe they need a jacket. Maybe they need shoes, something. You know what I mean? It's never, in my experience, they don't need expensive things. Homeless people, they live very simply, and their needs are literally day to day, and they live off of what people give them. So they don't really need expensive things. But that is one really quick and easy way to make yourself useful to the Lord is by becoming an instrument of prayer and charity. That is like a really good step. Uh Practical, you know what I mean? Uh be the kind of person that talks less and does more. That you actually don't say a whole lot, but you let your actions speak. You are somebody who is more respectful, says good morning to people. You don't have to have a whole conversation with them if you're like introverted or anxious. Say, "Oh, good morning. It's good to see you." Uh, Say God bless you to people. You know what I mean? Um, what else? I think also if you want to become useful to God, you can only do so much if you're not somebody who is retreating to your interior life as much as you could, right? Uh, Becoming useful to God also means turning away from the world. You know what I mean? Uh, Turning away from worldly things specifically, turning away from like watching the TV, watching, things that are not of God, watching things that won't help you cultivate a mind where you're leading your soul towards holiness and righteousness. You know what I mean? Maybe you're just watching a lot of content that is like meme related, meme oriented, entertaining in nature. Uh, if you're, I'm the kind of person that I grew up watching a lot of TV. There's a lot of TV that's really not good for you. You know what I mean? More recently, I was watching like Cops for hours, and it's not constructive watching that for hours. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, it's a reality TV show. So reality TV is not good for your brain. It's trashy for your brain. So, um, it's really important for you to turn away from the material. Turn away from the desire to be eating at restaurants constantly. Uh, try baking some bread with your family or for your family. Learn how to make some bread and make some bread for your family. And you'd be surprised. It's cheap to make bread, I gotta say. Some flour, some yeast, water, and salt are really all you really need to make some good bread. And a little bit of time. Okay. Make some bread for your family, man. They'll enjoy it a lot. They'll actually be surprised. I remember I made bread for my family one time. I made Mexican conchas. You know what I mean? The breads that look like the shells, like the seashells. And my family was amazed. They're like, "Where did you learn how to make conchas?" You know what I mean? And the internet clearly has a lot of stuff. There you got the senoras on there, bro, making bread, teaching you how to make pan dulce, Mexican sweet bread. Okay, make some Mexican sweet bread for your family, dude. Um, and you will reap great benefits spiritually. That will actually enrich you, even enrich your senses. Just to see your family like, oh wow, you know what I mean? Right now, everybody's going through a hard time. You bake some bread for your family, dude. Um, you'll be making yourself very useful for the Lord. You're being a light in the world. You know what I mean? This will increase the more you are immersed in the scriptures. If you have a consistently studious prayer life where you're reading your catechism, you're learning your faith, you're learning or spending time with our Lord and our Lady in meditating the divine mysteries. If you pray the Divine Mercy Chaplet at 3 p.m., very very powerful. Um, Simple prayers, man. Consistent prayers throughout the day, constantly retreating to your interior and seeking the Lord within yourself, finding the Lord within yourself. Um, what I mean to say is like the Lord is within you. The more you fill yourself with Him, and you're just retreating to your interior as opposed to going out into the world and finding something to do. in the material. So that will slowly turn you into a weapon of virtue, a weapon of peace, an instrument of peace. Somebody who desires the goodwill for the people that surround him, no matter how they treat you, or if they mistreat you. Like, the more you retreat to the Lord, the more you spend time in adoration, the more you spend time meditating upon the divine mysteries. Like, your imagination is going to change. The images in your mind are going to change. You're going to be more properly disposed to um, being a vessel for the teachings of Christ. You know, and it'll transform your life. You will become more useful to the Lord in that way. But you need that time of, like, it's like that movie. There's this movie. It's like actually pretty underrated of a movie. I really have never had a conversation with other people about this movie. It's on YouTube for free with ads, but it's there for free. It's called The Ultimate Gift, and it's about this young man who comes from a really rich family. He's the grandson of a very wealthy. Uh, I don't know if he was a Wall Street guy or what, but he was very rich. This guy, and I think ultimately the old man was feeling regretful for, like, the state of his family at the time of his death. He made videos, and so he made a video for this specific grandson, and I don't know if he promised him money. I don't know if he promised him this for. He promised him an ultimate gift. It's been a while since I've seen the movie, but he's like, but you have to do these things in order to get access. Otherwise, like, you know, I won't give you anything. And so obviously he's a young kid with a sports car, and, like, very worldly, selfish. And so he's like, all right, I'm gonna go on this journey. And so, and the grandfather sends him to a farm to work, you know, in the farm. And at first, he's useless. He can't do anything. He can't even help the farm. The guy has him just putting posts to wrap wire, and he's building a fence of wire. But he's digging a hole, putting the post in, and then he's doing that. And at first, the first few posts he puts, like, the guy gets on his truck and he ties a rope to them and he yanks it because they're not gonna hold. They're not firm. You know what I mean? And then he gets to the point, obviously, like, the young man's like frustrated. He's like, "Oh, how could you do that?" And he's like, "Well, you got to do it right, man." And so I think eventually he gets to the point where he's like the king of putting posts after doing it for so long, you know. And then they move him on to the next phase of the movie, you know. But that's my point. If you want to become useful to the Lord, uh, humble yourself and do some nice hard work, man. Shake that laziness off of you. Um, and you don't have to be outside sweating in the sun, cutting grass. You could. It's very useful. It really lends itself well to building character and humility. But you don't have to do all that, man. You could even uh, clean the house. Clean the house. Some chores will definitely humble you out, and especially if you're the kind of person that doesn't, I can't think of a single person that loves to do chores, right? Unless you're a neat freak, right? Uh, but most people don't like doing chores, man. They'd rather pay somebody to do it. They'd rather ask somebody else. They'd rather exchange a favor. They find a way to weasel out of it. I myself included. So do some chores, man. Sweep the floors, mop the floors, clean the toilets of your house, clean the restrooms. You know what I mean? And think about um, the joy that your neighbor will receive in using a restroom that is clean, in coming to a house where there isn't debris all over the floor, where it smells clean. You know what I mean? Um, Another way to become useful to the Lord is care for the animals in your home. You know what I mean? And offer it to God. Like, I feel like a lot of the times, I have seen it happen to where pets become like a little bit forgotten, a little bit, people stop walking their pets, people stop grooming their pets, and pets become like some a part of the house that they stop caring for, or a part of the household that they stop caring for. You know what I mean? So like if your pet has like some bad habits, maybe like excessive barking or they're just really anxious, take the dog slash cat for a walk. You know what I mean? I don't, it's funny because I'm not a cat owner, so I can't. I have lived with cat owners. I don't see people taking their cats on a walk. I'm sure that it happens. I don't think it's very common though. Cats don't really lend themselves well to that kind of thing. They could take the dog for a walk, man. Do a regular thing where you take the dog for a walk and you love that animal for the glory of God. You know what I mean? But I think that's how you become useful to the Lord is in service to others, in acts of kindness, uh, to your friends, to your neighbors, to people that are strangers on the street. Take time and listen to somebody's story, man. Take the time and ask somebody how they're doing, and let them go on and on and on and listen attentively. Even if it's half-heartedly, right? You're not used to that kind of thing. You're just like, oh, I can't wait. Cause you got TikTok brain. I think we all got some level of TikTok brain. But yeah, man, if you can surrender to listening to somebody's story, somebody that, you know, maybe feels like nobody cares, ask somebody how they're doing, you know, you become useful to the Lord in no time. I'll tell you that much. You know what I mean? So yeah, become useful to the Lord. Remember that, yes, He's your Heavenly Father, He's also your Master. You know what I mean? Become a servant to the good Lord. Um, feed His sheep, help somebody in need, pray and fast for those that don't have a prayer life, who don't want to seek the Lord, who don't want to repent, who want to live a faith uh, to their liking. You know what I mean? Who don't know any better. Pray a long, deep prayer for them, and you'll see that. Excuse me. You will become much useful to the Lord, much more useful, and you will feel like you have a greater sense of purpose in this life. I think that's a great part to stop the video right there. So this has been the Son of the Most Sorrowful, and I pray that the peace of the Lord be always with you. In Jesus' mighty name, by the intercession of our Blessed Mother, the Virgin Mary. And I'll see you in the next one. God bless you.